Welcome back to the Bear Down Abroad podcast with me, Ant in Gothenburg, and Chip instead of Tony. What do you think, Chip? You looking forward to this? This is going to be an epic show, says little Chip, because we've got four amazing guests. Because it's Packer week, we have to get everyone ready to go with this. We're starting off with Alex Shapiro, then we're going into Greg Gabriel, then we're going into Brendan Sugrue, then we're going into Neil. This is going to be epic. Why? Because it's Packer week. And Tony's not here. So instead of saying, come on, Tony, you can set it up, I have to do it myself. So let's see if I get this right. Let's go. Welcome back to the Bear Down Abroad podcast with me, Ant. And I'm starting off with one of my great friends. We had an amazing night out in Chicago when I was over there. He is the guy to definitely go out drinking with. Great night we had out. Mr. Shapiro, Daddy Shapiro, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Good to see you as always, Ant.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's cold over here. Not as cold as it was from what I'm hearing in Chicago on Sunday against the Browns, which minus 20 feel to it seemed pretty damn cold, didn't it?
Yeah, gnarly stuff. It's one of those things where it only takes a few seconds for the icicles to form on your mustache. That's how I judge how cold it is outside. It's like, okay, does it take 5 minutes for there to be icicles on my mustache, or does it take 10 seconds for there to be icicles on my mustache? That was like in 10 seconds, it's frozen just from the breath. My nose breath on my mustache freezing. It was that cold.
That's the standard, if I'm completely honest. That's the standard to set with. Let's talk a little bit about that game before we get into those guys up north, as I've heard you refer to them and other people refer to them. The Browns game was one of those ones where everyone was worried about it being a trap game and what it would be. For me, it stands out how different this coaching ticket is to what we've seen before in Chicago, that the professional output of it, the way we went about our business, the way we dismantled a team that was 3-10 and we made them look like a 3-10 team. That's what stood out the most to me. From your perspective, what did you take? What was your takeaway from that Browns game?
Similar, it's, to me, this is what differentiates good teams from okay teams. As they like to do their good, better, best. Obviously, this team was in the basement for a long time. And now, okay, let's see if you can make some improvements. And the Bears have gone from, okay, the Bears are a team that are able to beat bad teams. They were able to beat the New Orleans Saints. They were able to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. They were able to beat the Minnesota Vikings, but they needed all 60 minutes to do so. The Raiders game, they needed a blocked field goal to do so. They have improved beyond that to now dismantling bad teams, which is what you're supposed to do. If you are a good team, you're supposed to dismantle a bad team. So that's one part of it, is that kind of ratcheting up the tiers in the NFL. There's the basement, there's better than the worst, and then it's like, okay, good football teams. Now, so that was big. And then it kind of, as you mentioned, it was a great response to adversity. How were they going to come out after losing a game, which they, probably felt like they could have stolen a win in Lambeau Field? And the response was excellent. I mean, they were all about their business, as you said, and they just took care of business in all three phases.
Yeah, what I found really refreshing was whenever our coaches talk about things that we need to improve. So starting the game well, that was the Browns one. We need to start better. We need to be fast out of the gate. Suddenly you find us up 14 points. And it snowballed from that. Like any game, it ebbs and flows a little bit in different times. But I never felt, and this is the first time in a long time watching a Chicago Bears game, I never felt worried. I never felt concerned. They have superstar in Myles Garrett on the other side of the field, but I still felt that our coaching ticket was going to make a way of doing it. the feeling I'm getting around this Bears team is completely different. And I'm living out in Gothenburg. You living in the Chicagoland area. The buzz must be insane right now going around the city and the area and the fan base.
It's interesting. You know, when I talk to Bears fans around town, they seem to fall into two camps. One is like ready to book their Super Bowl flights, book their Super Bowl hotels, you know, talking about, okay, the Super Bowl Bears are back, you know, like that level of hype. We finally got the coach. We finally got the quarterback. And now they got the good vibes, right? The good vibes are back. And that is kind of inarguable. You can feel it. You can feel it kind of around the city that, as you said, Ant, it feels different. This team just has that je ne sais quoi around them. Then there's the other side that is, I think, cautiously optimistic, has improved to cautiously optimistic, where they are enjoying every moment of it, going, oh my gosh, this team has won 10 games. And isn't that wonderful? And you know what? I'm sure enjoying the ride, but it's still kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop. Is still maybe pessimistic about this team's chances in the playoffs, realistically, you know, being like, okay, hey, making the playoffs would be really fun, but is this a Bears team that's going to win a playoff game? That can win 2 playoff games? I certainly think they can win a playoff game. They absolutely have enough talent. The defense is good enough to win a playoff game. But those are kind of the two camps. I still think there's the cautiously optimistic side that's waiting for that other shoe to drop, and then the just mega hype Kool-Aid drinking stuff. But I don't think I'm talking too out of turn when I say around the city, it seems to be a collective of like, yeah, things genuinely feel different with Ben Johnson leading the charge here, and with Caleb Williams also leading the charge here.
Yeah, we'll get on to Caleb in a second. I think for me, a lot of that turnaround came with the Philly game. And I think people suddenly sat back and went, well, okay, wow, this is something to jump on board. And I think a lot of that came from the run game and how the run game was done. Looking back is lovely. So the first 2 games, everyone was thinking we're all in normal Bearland. This is what's going to happen. We're basically the Cleveland Browns, only based out of Chicago, in essence. And what has been amazing to me is that the development, and I tweeted about this today, the development of certain players. And this is why I think this coaching staff, not just Ben Johnson, the whole staff is special. The likes of Nashawn Wright, the likes of DeMarco Jackson, the likes, even you can use, forget about the rookies for a second. Players that Tariq Stevenson, players who have been, even DeAndre Swift, players who have been a little bit disregarded by other teams, are not really seen as being something special, have all come in and not just performed, have actually over exceeded expectations of what we were looking for. I remember 4 weeks ago sitting on this show going, oh my God, we've lost all our linebackers. We're in so much trouble here. And suddenly DeMarco Jackson comes in and wins Player of the Week this week, Defensive Player of the Week. And the same you could say with Nashawn Wright, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I think this long-term longevity towards this team is there, because they have those coaches in place. Is that again something that is surprising to you, optimistic for the future for you, or is this one of those ones that confidence in a sports player just drags everything with it?
I don't think it is surprising. I mean, I think it's surprising to the extent that when you rattle off all those names where you're like, wow, yeah, you know, I'll even throw Theo Benedict in there, you know, this is an undrafted free agent who like is essentially having his rookie season, you know, doing a pretty bang up job when needed. So yeah, when you go down the line and you see to the extent that all of the next men up have risen to the occasion, that doesn't happen very often in the NFL. At a certain point, the next man up isn't getting the job done, right? So to the extent that it's been successful has been a little surprising, yes. But the job the coaching staff has done has not surprised me. That was something that when these guys were hired, we were, you know, throwing plaudits out, I think, right away. I think we recognized that things were different with this staff, and we gave Ben Johnson a lot of credit for the staff that he put together. And now we're seeing the fruits of that stuff. And I think We talked about it a lot at the time, and we still talk about it a little bit. They boil down to two camps, really. And I think Ben Johnson, again, deserves a lot of credit for building this team. Coaching staff, his team of a coaching staff. And the camps are guys like Dennis Allen and Dan Rochar, the offensive line coach, very experienced guys who have a ton of respect, who are kind of no nonsense, and are really kind of masters of their craft, right? Dennis Allen did not work out as a head coach for him, right? It simply did not work out for him. But there's no arguing that he's an excellent defensive coordinator. His defenses for a long time in New Orleans were very, very good. And he had his fingerprints all over that stuff. And we've seen his fingerprints all over the defense here in Chicago. So, okay, got that taken care of. But also the experience that he can then relate back to Ben Johnson. Hey, when things didn't work out for me as a head coach, here's why X, Y, Z. Dan Rochar is a guy who I am pretty sure Ben Johnson did not connect with at any point in his coaching career. That doesn't also that's worth praising. Usually guys bring in their guys that they have relationships with. But Dan Rochar had relationships with some of the people around him, and he made some calls. Hey, is Dan Rochar good? Dan Rochar comes in the fold. So he goes outside of his network to add this very experienced, well-regarded guy. And then I'll add Eric Bieniemy in there as well, right? A very experienced, right? It didn't work out for him as an offensive coordinator. It didn't work out for him as a head coaching candidate even, right? This guy didn't get an opportunity to just be a head coach. But now as a running backs coach, where he coached a lot of really good running backs for a long time, he is obviously thriving, and the Bears are obviously thriving under him. Now, Bieniemy kind of fits into both of these camps, so I'll use him as a bridge, and that is former players who played the position at a very high level. Yeah. So Eric Bieniemy played the game. Antoine Randall L., obviously wonderful wide receiver for a long time. Al Harris, great cornerback, physical cornerback, right? So now you're having either guys who are really experienced, walk the walk, have the reputation, or guys who players can relate to in a sense of okay, I know that you've done this at a very high level. That kind of authority, I think, is different for players when they're okay, you've walked in my shoes. You've stood on my shoes. You know what I'm going through here in training camp. You know what I'm going through here going over tape on Monday. So I think the blend of guys, and they're all, again, I didn't list every single guy. Richard Smith, linebackers coach, been doing a long time. I could go on and on and on and on. I'm talking about the entire staff. I think he did a really good job putting this team together with a variety of experiences. And these guys are going to get promotions. These guys are going to get paid. This coaching staff isn't going to be around forever because they've had success, and that's the way of the world. So I don't know that I would necessarily worry about the continuity if Al Harris gets a defensive coordinator job somewhere, which he absolutely should and probably will one day, right? Because it still stems up top. Dennis Allen is probably going to stick around as the DC. Declan Doyle is probably going to stick around as the OC, right? You're going to have that kind of top level continuity. Press Taylor is probably, going to stick around. Jonathan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So no, that doesn't surprise me, because when Ben Johnson built this staff, I think we all looked at him being this is kind of a dynamite staff, and they're coaching their tails off.
And it's showing in the players I mentioned. That's even before we even talk about the reaction to the players who are your superstars, your Caleb's, your Rome's, your all these different ones, and how he's handling those personalities, and how this whole system is growing with it, and players are growing with it. And you just have to listen to Grady Jarrett talking in the presser about the links together. You need to see the buy-in from Jalen Johnson. You need to see the buy-in from TJ Edwards and all these players who have been at Chicago for a couple of years now and have not had success. An amazing stat. This is the first year in DJ Moore's career since he was in high school that he's won more games than he's lost. That's insane to me, right? But what it is that you've been able to turn that culture around, and for me then you've seen that growth week on week. The Browns game, we got to talk about Caleb. I mean, God, the guy can do. I'm going to say one thing. People have been jumping up and down about the pass, right? Can we now call it the catch? Because DJ Moore's catch, people don't give that credit. That was insane. Throw brilliant, the way he got out of the pocket and off his off. Don't get me wrong, sensational pass. But every time I watch that play, I'm like, how did DJ Moore catch that ball?
It's remarkable. There's a lot of traffic. Here's the thing. He's just running across. He sees it the whole way. And obviously major distraction. He's got the guy behind him. He's got the guy flashing in front of him. But unbelievable concentration. You know, I think DJ Moore probably had a good vantage point of this unfolding and knew, okay, wow, ball's coming to me. Here it comes. And yes, there are just distractions, but great concentration, makes the leap, makes the grab, plenty of room to get both feet in. And then, you know, he just stops on a dime. He's like, yeah, touchdown. Yeah, I mean, that's the play of the season. That play is so absurd. Everything about it. The throw and the catch to do.
That and Colson Loveland against the Bengals. They're the two that stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. When Colson Loveland bounces off a guy. Yeah.
What makes it funny about that is it was around 1:00 in the morning Swedish time, and my poor girlfriend was asleep in the bed beside me. And yeah, she may have thought I was having a heart attack because I normally am quite calm. Surprisingly, for my personality, I'm actually quite calm when it comes to watching Bears games. I don't get like screamy. I'm not that kind of guy. But that and the throw on Sunday, I mouth open for the throw on Sunday. The Loveland one, I was jumping around the bedroom. That was insane. Caleb as a player has developed massively this year. What's the one thing that you've seen different from last year, Caleb, or early in the season, Caleb, to now? What's the thing that's standing out more than anything else?
Making throws with anticipation consistently. Even if it's leading to incomplete balls, because a lot of the time he's getting the ball out early and they are misconnections. He's a little long, or he's not on the same page with the wide receiver. Maybe the wide receiver isn't doing the right thing. So it hasn't led to the huge uptick in completion percentage, but I am seeing Caleb Williams trust that his players are going to be in the right spot and uncork the ball before guys are out of their breaks at a rate that I have never seen out of a Bears quarterback. My first year covering the team was the COVID year, 2020. So Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. And to be frank, I was covering that season pretty much from my couch. COVID year, et cetera, et cetera. In 2021, Andy Dalton and Justin Fields was my first training camp. The amount of throws that Caleb Williams is making with anticipation now this season is, like I said, the most I have ever seen. And I think that's what gives me confidence that he can reach his potential. If he was still late, and there are moments when he is late, right? Like the interception against the Packers at the end of the game, ball was late. And that was obviously, I'm picking an enormously bad example of that. But there are still times where it's like, okay, you got to be quicker about it. So I'm not saying he's a finished product, but that is where I see the growth. And I think that's an important growth area where if he still wasn't getting the ball out with any anticipation, if we were still saying like, dude, you're staring guys down and then throwing the ball after defenders have closed the gap, then I'd be like, okay, this is a red flag issue that needs to improve. But I think we're seeing it improve before our eyes. We're seeing him do it. And I think as the team, everybody on the team gets more familiar with Ben Johnson's offense, wide receivers included. I mean, there are still moments not too long ago within the last month where we're seeing Luther Burden not really understanding what to do pre-snap, right? So once everybody has that understanding and then they can look at each other just like Jordan Love and Christian Watson did against the Bears, where they looked at each other and knew immediately what they were going to do to score a touchdown on that play. Once Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze can do that after just reps, that's when I think it's going to get like crazy fun to watch.
Yeah, it's already crazy fun to watch. You brought up those guys up north, Green Bay, the nemesis of Chicago Bears for the last 30 years. I used to have hair when they weren't nemesis. I think from my perspective, it's the most optimistic I've been going into a Green Bay game in decades, genuinely. And I'll say this from the start: I'm a turnaround on Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love's surprised me. I think Jordan Love is a good quarterback. He is very good in that system. He is a danger and a threat to Chicago. A really good deep ball. He's got Watson. They've got weapons that people, I know they're missing Kraft, but they've got weapons there. It looks like Watson's going to be playing, which is good news because I want all their players to play, if I'm honest. And they are a really strong candidate, even without Micah Parsons. They're a really strong candidate for me. But I'm really optimistic going into this game. I just think we're in a really good spot. What's your feeling? Are you in the it's Green Bay, we have to beat them before I can start talking about it? Or are you like more like me now going, do you know what? I'm surprised we're not favorites for this game.
I think there is a bit of, yeah, you got to do it for me to believe it. But similarly to you, I think Bears fans should be optimistic about the team's chances this game more than any game in recent history, right? I mean, we've seen it. We saw that second half on offense. If they can continue that second half on offense, pick up where they left off, yeah, you should be optimistic. I think this team, there's an obvious feeling, right? We all saw the locker room videos after the Browns game where they're talking about it. Like, hey, this feels good, but we know what we have to do next week. We have unfinished business next week. They're like hardly enjoying the Browns win because they want that taste out of their mouth so bad. And I think that is going to, that can sometimes hurt a team. I think here it's going to help them because I think Ben Johnson has done a really good job positively directing the attention of that team, positively directing the emotions of that team, the energy of that team. He's had a good handle of that early on in his career. I think the key, though, because it's going to come down to what happens on the football field, not with vibes alone, is the plan for Jordan Love. As you mentioned, was pretty darn good against the Chicago Bears. And I know they got a pick out of him. They weren't able to do anything with it. He does not turn over the ball very often. And the one thing that I think really stood out is Dennis Allen, who has not had success generating pressure with his front four guys. He's needed to blitz. They blitz at a very high rate because he's needed to. Jordan Love really picked that blitz apart. He was great at identifying it and putting the ball exactly where he needed to put it, right? It's like the replace kind of, I'm not articulating it well right now, but he diagnosed pretty much every single blitz and put the ball where it needed to go to be a success, no matter if it was a blitz from the safety, if it was a blitz coming out of the slot, or if it was a blitz coming from a linebacker. You know, Dennis Allen threw everything at him and he diagnosed it all really well. So what do you do now, Dennis Allen, if you can't generate pressure with your front four and Jordan Love is chewing you apart every time you blitz him? And that's been huge, a big part of their third down defense. What is Dennis Allen's chess move going to be to stop that Packers offense so that the Bears can take care of business?
Yeah, I think what's interesting for me is I think Dennis Allen in the first half of the Packers was the only time I've been disappointed in him all season, because you mentioned that blitz, the one that it was 3rd and 10, and it's just for the half, it was the Bo Melton touchdown. And I was screaming, going, do not blitz, do not blitz. We don't actually need to blitz right now. We don't actually need to do it. And it was so obvious. It was so obvious. And it was only ever going to end up in a touchdown. And Love, as I said, has got a really nice deep ball, and he didn't even throw it well. That was the one throw he didn't actually throw that well, and it was just way too obvious. And then in the second half, we flipped it. And a lot of that, I think, came down to our offense deciding to hold on to the ball a lot longer. We ran the football. We started creating holes. We started creating dominance. And with that, created the opportunities that we had. to go and really put pressure on the Green Bay. And I say it again, that Green Bay game for me didn't come down to the Caleb interception. For me, that came down to the Josh Jacobs run where we couldn't
third
stop
down
him.
run where he was stopped
couldn't
behind
stop
the
him.
line.
And then the one time, and this is the guys have been brilliant, but that was the one time we had 4 players who missed the tackle. And that just gave them the opportunity to go get a touchdown. And suddenly now you're not getting an opportunity to go to overtime, because I think at that stage we were the better team. They looked shattered, and I think we would have won the game. Easy to say, I know that. Before I let you go, this week against the Packers, the big moments and the big opportunities that are there, will we see more of us running the football? Will it be another chess match? Because you're playing a team 2 weeks after you've played them. Will it be a complete flip chess match where you're trying to say, yeah, we're going to run the ball, but we're going to do something different? And how will the Packers look towards what we're trying to do? What do you see coming?
I have a feeling we're going to see some of Ben Johnson's kookiest stuff yet. I think this is a moment, and I think he can, Ben Johnson can sense it. I can sense it. I think the city can sense it, that this is a game where things can shift, right? This is a game where it will not actually lock up the division, right? It won't do that, but it feels like if the Bears can win this game, then like this is kind of how the way the division is going to go, even though that is not true. It's got that feeling. It has that gravity to it. So I think we are going to see some wild stuff from Ben Johnson, right? You got to imagine he's got stuff cooking all year long, waiting for the choice moments to unleash it. I think the playoffs, we're definitely going to see if the Bears make the playoffs, there's definitely a reality in which the Bears do not make the playoffs this year. They can still miss the playoffs this year, which is kind of crazy. If they win this game, I hate to do this right now. I hate to do this right now. If the Bears win this game, they might still miss the playoffs. If they lose to the Niners and lose to the Lions, and the Lions win out and the Niners win out, et cetera, like again, in the playoff picture type of deal, that's what I'm saying. Like it feels like this win will lock up the playoffs. It actually won't. That's neither here nor there. What I was saying is, if the Bears make it to the playoffs, I think that's when Ben's going to get deep into his bag. And I just got a little feeling that this week, Ben Johnson's going to get into his bag, and he's going to have some surprises for those Green Bay Packers. I
can't wait. There, one play that stuck in my brain. Do you remember Theo Benedette was running across the line, and he was the first call. If we end up with an offensive line that's going to touchdown, I actually think I might explode. Before I let you go, what's your score prediction? Give me a go.
I think the Bears get it done. I think it's going to be tight. I think they get it done 27-24.
Love it. I always ask this to everybody before I let you go. I look for a bold prediction. So one bold prediction, something not crazy, but something that no one expects. So everyone expects, let's say, Caleb to throw 3 touchdowns or something like that, or DJ Moore to be a touchdown. Is there anything, and you mentioned the bag of tricks, is there anything in there that you think, do you know what, that might actually turn up?
I'm going to blend the bag of tricks with your big boy prediction. I think Darnell Wright is going to have a receiving touchdown.
Okay. I'm telling you now, the next time in Chicago, if Darnell Wright scored a touchdown, I'm bringing you out, not just on, I'm paying for all the drinks if that
receiving touchdown. I'm going to make it harder on myself. I'm making it purposely hard on myself because I am being bold. Receiving touchdown for 58.
Alex, it's absolutely always been a pleasure to get you on this show. Make sure you follow Alex Shapiro online. Make sure you see what you're doing. You guys, show us your podcast. You're doing still a podcast, aren't you?
Me and Kenneth Davis are back. We are flying under the fan-sided banner. The name of our show is The Windy City Podcast, and it has been just a joy getting back together with Kenneth, who is my guy. We're having all the fun in the world talking Bears.
Tell him I said hello. Tell him I said hello, and I got to get him on the show at some stage because he's a really, really good dude. Look out yourself, man. Enjoy the game. I'm sure we'll be interacting again, and we must get you back on when we're on the Super Bowl week. That's what I'm looking forward to. It. That's when we have it. Alex, thanks as always, man. I really, really do appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Ant. Always have fun coming on your show, man. Be well.
Always there, brother. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic to get Alex Shapiro on. Love the insight, and I love the Darnell Wright touchdown. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. But we keep rolling. We don't just wait on one. As I said, we've got loads of guests, and our next one is a superstar. Greg Gabriel is, if you don't know who Greg Gabriel is, then I don't want to talk about it. This guy knows everything about the Chicago Bears, been working in the place for so long, an amazing follow on Twitter, amazing insight into the Bears, and we want to hear him what he thinks about coming to the Packers. So don't listen to just me. Greg, how you doing, my man?
Merry Christmas to you. How you doing?
Merry Christmas to you too as well. I know it's pretty cold where you are. You're out that direction, so it's pretty cold here in Gothenburg in Sweden, but how are you getting ready for Saturday? Are you slowly getting into it? Or are you already hyped beyond belief?
Yeah, I'm excited for the game. It's not the weather's going to be, a total 180 from last week and the week before up in Green Bay. In fact, right now I'm going to look it up right while I'm talking to you, because it could have changed since this morning. But Saturday, a high of 41, but the game's at night. So it'll probably, kickoff, it'll probably be in the low 30s. It's going to be relatively mild night, as compared to single-digit temperatures last Sunday and snow and double, like teen temperatures the week before up in Green Bay. This is going to be like a spring game. Very balmy.
Well, Tim, what was your take? I was talking to Alex there before you came on. What was your take on how good the Bears were against the Browns?
I look at it like Ben looks at it. There's still room for improvement. And, you haven't seen the perfect game yet. The defense played, probably, except for 2 plays, played as close to a perfect game as they could. But let's be honest here. They're playing a rookie quarterback. That was only his 4th start, and there were 3 starters on the offensive line out. So they should have played as good as they did. Yeah. I'm not trying to downplay it at all. It's just that, this team is very, very good. I put out a tweet, should say post now, last week, and it said, are you guys nervous about the Browns game? And I got more replies to that post than anything I've ever put out over the years. There was like 420 something replies, and over 80% were like, "Yeah, we're real nervous. The Browns could beat us." Blah blah blah. I couldn't believe it. The Browns are a horseshit football team, and this was going to be a win. It was never going to be an issue. It was, how big are they going to win by? That's the way I took at it. And I look at, I'm pretty confident going into this game. They should have won up in Green Bay. It was close. When you think about it, in the last 3 Green Bay games, the Bears win late last year up in Green Bay. The game here last year, if it's not for a blocked field goal, the Bears win. And if it's not for Caleb being about 3 inches underthrown on that pass, Bears probably win 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. So this series is a lot tighter than the cheeseheads want to think. They think it's a domination. No, it's not. And Green Bay's a good team. You can't take it away from them. I don't care if they lost Parsons. Look how many players the Bears have lost and are playing without this season. You find ways to win. You change things up. The next guy in has to play a good game. And the Bears can't take off because Micah Parsons is in the game. You still got to play a damn good game.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting, and it's really, you put it really well. I think we've had scenarios where whole rooms have gone out. We've had cornerbacks go out injured. We've had linebackers go out injured. We've had wide receivers now getting injured. And I think the example I would give is what I love about this coaching ticket. And I'm not just talking about Ben. The whole coaching ticket is, it's not just next man up. It's that next man is really pushed on. DeMarco Jackson, Nishan Rice, you could mention Theo Benedette, who was a free, undrafted free agent, comes in and does a job at left tackle, overtaken now by Ozzie Trapillo. But all these players, you could keep going. They're all having this culture that's connected into this football team. And it's given me so much confidence walking into this Packers game, because for the first time, I genuinely believe we have a better football team. And it's been a long time that without being the biased fan, I could realistically look at this game and go, yeah, I can see how we can hurt Green Bay. I can see that 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, we put them under so much pressure. We tired them out.
You started out slow. The problem with and I listened to the last part of your segment with Alex, and you thought it was that run that did it. I think I don't look at that. That's one play to play, bad play on the defensive part. But at the same time, the Bears offense started slow and the defense started slow.
Yeah.
So, and that seemed to be rectified last week against Cleveland, but they got to continue that type of play in the first quarter this week. But on top of that, and I think this is real important, and some of the players have mentioned it, Ben Johnson's mentioned it a few times, it's the fans really got to be loud. And, the one thing that jumped out in that game to me in Green Bay was how loud that stadium was in favor of Green Bay. Makes it very difficult for the opponent's offense to run smoothly, to get their snap out, to get any audibles in, because you just can't hear a damn thing. And Soldier Field's got to be the same way. And I think it will be, because it is Green Bay. I just hope there's not 2,000-3,000 cheeseheads sitting in that stadium. And I know George gets pissed off at that, and if he finds out you're selling tickets to Green Bay people, he'll pull your tickets.
I don't blame him. Question for you: from your experience of being connected into the team, how difficult is it, or how changing it is it to play a rival game so quickly back to back?
I don't look at it as difficult. Some people think, well, you can use the same game plan. No, you can't, because you've used that. You know what worked, you know what didn't work, but you also got to put changes in. And, or Alex was saying he thinks Ben's going to reach into his bag of tricks. I don't know if that's quite true. There might be a trick play here or a trick play there, but don't forget, those guys are waiting for it. And, unless it's something you've never seen before, because a lot of this stuff works off of something that happened before, as far as the motion of the play or whatever. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it looks like it's going to be one way, and then it turned out to be something totally different because it's disguised so well. So I think in a game, you got a division game. Division games in most divisions are close football games, because those teams so well. And so it gets down to execution. It gets down to fundamentals and who's the better team play after play after play. I think it's going to be a close game. Most of them are. The last 4 games or 3 games with Green Bay have all been close games. Could have gone either way. And so, I think this will be too. Would I like to win by 2 touchdowns or 17 points? Sure. But, that may be also, unrealistic. But the important thing is that you get a W.
I think Bears fans, we all get wrapped up in the next game. And this is the next game, and it's a big one, and we want to go and win it, and we want to go look at it. But at the start of the year, and I know you shouldn't really look at it now because you're in the situation you're in because of how successful you've been. But at the start of the year, fans would have said 10 wins, 11 wins, that's a really successful football season. And Alex said in the last part, he said there is a chance that we get to 11 wins, we don't qualify for a playoffs.
Yeah, that's only happened like once.
I know
it's almost. I'm not going to say it's not mathematically impossible, but when you look at it, I mean, some of these other teams, a lot of these teams with the high records are playing each other over the next 3. So somebody got to lose.
And I think it's a little bit of Bears fan PTSD, if I'm honest, where we're just waiting.
I get it, but I think if they win one more game, they're in. Somebody said, I wrote up the other day. I tweeted out after the Bears game was over and Detroit was playing and Green Bay's playing in Denver, Detroit's playing the Rams, and at the end when LA and Denver won, I put, this is good for the Bears. And somebody said, no, it's not. What do you mean it's not? He goes, well, if you look at the big picture, you wanted Detroit to win because that helps the Bears get the first seed. And I said, man, you're smoking dope. It's anytime you can knock a team in your division out with a loss, that's a good thing. The first thing you want to do is get in the playoffs. They're not there yet. Okay. I think one more win will do. I mean, theoretically, if they win, Detroit loses this weekend, they're in. It's done. But Detroit's got to lose. And I don't think Detroit's got a real tough game this week. I don't remember who the hell they play, but I don't think. Well, where's the game? In Detroit or in Pittsburgh?
In Detroit.
Well, see, they play good in Detroit. You put them on the road outside in the cold, they don't play as good. But you knock Detroit, you give losses to your opponents, it helps you. And like I said, the first thing you want to do is get in the playoffs. The second thing you want to do is win the division. The third thing and the last thing you think about is the seeding, because you can't help that. It depends what everybody else does.
Yeah,
and especially the way this team has played the last few years, you're happy as hell to be in the playoffs. And it's not that you're satisfied. Now you want to win a playoff game. But, I went into this year thinking, and I said it on my show numerous times, I thought 9 wins was a reasonable expectation. I've already passed that. They're better than that. They've hit 10, and there's a good chance they could hit 12. But I really think they are going to win this week. What happens after that remains to be seen, because I haven't really studied San Francisco yet to see how good or bad they are. What I'd really like a perfect scenario to be is that you play Detroit in the last week and the game means nothing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I looked at the last couple of games for the teams. I really do. If Bears win this weekend, then the pressure on the Packers is insane. I think the Vikings have got better. I think the Vikings play both the Lions and I think they play the Lions in Minnesota, and they play the Packers, I think, in Green Bay. But either way, there's tough games coming up for. I think the Packers also play Baltimore, which is a very tough game at the moment. It still is. It's still Lamar Jackson. But for me, we have it in our hands. And what has been really impressive for me as a fan is the fact that I'm going into every single week really optimistic, and that's based on whether it's the teams or the players, the coaches, the whole that were there. I really can't wait to have that experience again and look forward to it. What's your take before I let you go? What's your take on this weekend? What do you think the score is going to be, or name the score?
I think the Bears are going to win. I'm not going to name a score. I know that from an offensive standpoint, it should be a lot cleaner than the game up in Green Bay because the weather's not going to be a factor. It's going to be dry between now and Saturday. It's going to be relatively warm. So from that aspect, the field conditions should be excellent. It's not going to be windy at least as of right now. It's not going to be windy on Saturday night. So from all looking at it that way, pretty good shape. I just want the crowd to be as boisterous and loud as possible. And this team, I get the feeling this team is really amped up for this game.
Yeah,
and you can see that in the locker room after the Cleveland game. It's like, yeah, we won, so what? Green Bay's next week. And, and a lot of times, and I've said this a few times, new players aren't as into the rivalry as much as guys who've been on the team for a while because they've been around here. So and you got a bunch of new players that are key players on this team, but being the fact that some of them have been in the division and stuff, that'll help. But it's just, it takes them almost a year to get really caught up like the fans do. But I just think just the way, because it's a division game, throw out the rivalry, division game, and you can almost throw Green Bay out of the race by beating them. You'll be a game and a half up with 2 games to go. Because that tie really screws Green Bay.
I am so amped for this. Greg, where can people come and watch you, listen to you, see you, interact with you?
Well, Greg Gabriel Football on Twitter, and then I've got my podcast at the Barroom Network. That'll be next Monday. And then I do another one every other Friday. So this Friday I'm doing it with Swifty on the Swift Sports Network. So that's Friday at noon Central Time. So this week's been a busy week. I've had 2 across the pond. You today, and I had one yesterday. So it's a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you having me on because, our friends on the other side of the ocean, I like talking to you guys. You guys have been, we've had several conversations over the last few years, and it's always a pleasure.
You're a great guy. Make sure, do me a favor, pass on my regards to Aldo. I was talking to him the other day.
Yeah, I'll do that. Aldo's doing good now. He came back. He's come back strong. He has recuperated so much faster than I thought he would.
He's a legend, absolute superstar. So pass on a love from everyone over here. Greg, we'll be talking again soon. As I said to Alex, we'll get you on for Super Bowl week when we're playing. I don't care who we're playing when we're at that point. Enjoy the weekend, brother. Thanks so much.
Okay, buddy.
Cheers, now that was cool. 2 down, 2 Bears wins we've got on the way from both of them. God, let's see if we get a third in a row. See if I'm still here. Niel, how are you doing, my man?
Doing awesome, brother. How we doing?
I'm doing good. I've got me beer. I got me vape. I'm ready to go for Saturday. Life is set. My dog Chip has ran out the door.
I love it.
I'm ready. Let's get ready for this. How are you feeling for Saturday?
Feel amazing, dude. I feel amazing. I've been amped up since Sunday. I love how really kind of all the players, like the entire team, almost immediately moved on from the Browns game to the Packers game. Right after that game was over on Sunday, it was such a massive ass whooping that it kind of seemed like, okay, we put the hay in the barn right there. Let's move right along and let's handle business against our division rival here.
You know what's amazing? It's the first game in a long time. I'd say 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. I was like, yeah, game's over. Game's done. So, I can take all the players off the field and we can put out our second string and Case Keenum can throw the ball around a little bit and we'll be all fine, get ready for Green Bay.
Go ahead and take a nap, right?
I don't think I've had that in years. Yeah. This football club is just turning into a little bit of a behemoth and it's just growing with what it is. What's standing out to you right now? Is it the players? Is it the coaches? Is it the whole culture within the organization? Is it the rookie class? Is there one thing that's standing out to you right now about this football team?
What really stood out to me on Sunday particularly was that was probably the most all-around colossal ass whooping the Bears have administered in quite some time. And it sort of seems like what Ben Johnson said back in September, maybe? Potentially in October. But earlier in the season, perhaps even August, before the season even started, was his note that we will be playing our best football in the month of December. Yeah. And that certainly seems to be the case. If there was one thing, and the main thing that I brought out of the loss 2 weeks ago to the Packers was, if there's one thing that's been consistent whatsoever, the entirety of this season, it's been that this team fight and scraps and claws and knows that they can compete, knows they can win. They trust themselves, they trust their teammates, they trust their coaches. And the resilience of this team has shown through week after week after week. There hasn't been one single week where you really felt like, damn, yeah, we have no chance. That was that week 2 debacle against the Detroit Lions where it was blueberries running wild in the defensive backfield. Outside of that, every game has been highly competitive. And if it hasn't been highly competitive, the Bears, play well enough to know that you either had the win in the bag or you had a decent shot at winning the game. Nothing ever seemed like it was out of hand. Nothing ever seemed like it was, beyond our control or beyond our reach. Yeah, that has been the main thing that's been standing out.
I think for me, I still have, and I will have for a while, Bears PTSD. It's just something that's ingrained in my body. Before I came on the show, I looked at our injury list and suddenly you see DeAndre Swift is on there limited with a groin and my panic level grows through the roof. But this is what I mean by being different. Because straight away I went, well, then Monongai starts and you've got Braxton Britton Brown. But yeah, he did a decent job when he was called on last time. The O-line is creating holes that a running back of that level. I brought this up with Alex Shapiro when he came on earlier on. What really impresses me right now is the fact that the coaching ticket are getting the best out of players who have been discarded by the fan base or by other teams. Nishan Wright, Britain, you could say him if you want. DeAndre Swift a little bit. DeMarco Jackson, Noah Sewell to a part. All these players who were bit pieces in Chicago or bit pieces somewhere else and just discarded are suddenly becoming, in the case of DeMarco Jackson, player of the week. In the case of, we've seen that with Sean Wright, who's going to get himself paid at the end of the year because of what he's done. Hopefully that'll be in Chicago. Tariq Stevenson turn it around. DeAndre Swift turn around. That's what's really stood out to me, which means when I look at these injury lists, and if Luther doesn't play, and if Rome doesn't play, and if DeAndre Swift doesn't play, Komet doesn't play, let's say, I still feel confident going into this Saturday. Tell me I'm mad, or tell me I'm on the right way with that thought process.
It's a product of two things. It's that the next man up mentality. And one of the things that I commented on when I was with the Barfly Tailgate guys on the morning show, I think it was 3 weeks ago, is that let's take the Theo Benedette injury, throwing in Ozzy Trapillo. Let's use that as a pretty decently prime example of that next man up mentality type of thing. You know, the first couple of times that we saw Ozzy Trapillo on the field this year, less than ideal, kind of subpar, looked a little bit lost, didn't seem like he was ready to go, right? Thing about Ozzy is that he does have left side of the line, muscle memory from earlier on in his career at Boston College. And I thought to myself, there is only just a matter of time before all of the evaluation points that front office and this coaching staff saw in Ozzy Trapillo shines through, and it has everything to do with multiple repetitions and the preparation that goes into it. But the next man up mentality about the entire thing is that when Theo goes down and Ozzy Trapillo all of a sudden shoved into the spotlight saying, hey, it's all you now, dude. It's his opportunity to go ahead and shore up the position that he was drafted to play. And all he's done ever since he's got thrust into it, his baptism by fire has been fantastic. You know, he has looked out of place at times. He has been out of position at times, I should say, not out of place. He's actually playing very well. He's playing very stout. He's playing strong. He's very athletic. He's laterally agile. He's doing all the things that he needs to do, and he battles and he competes, and he's kind of a little bit of he's got a little bit of prick out there too. He's got a little bit of that attitude, that intensity about him. All it was a matter of time before something clicked within him. I thought it was going to take a lot longer, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to be like one of those, we're going to have to get through this season into the off season, and then once we get into August of next year, we're going to figure out what this kid is. But it's just that next man up mentality, man. You know, anytime this team or an individual player has his back up against the wall, they seem to find something within them, or the coaches figure out a way to motivate these guys to get the best out of them. And these guys rise up, they play to the best of their ability, and it's all cohesive. That just goes back to the whole thing of the players believing in themselves, trusting their teammates, trusting the coaching staff. The coaching staff is doing a phenomenal job of getting these guys prepared. The training staff is doing a really good job of, when these guys go on the shelf, getting them off the shelf, and really having them prepared to go for, the beginning of the season anyways. We got to week 5, and that injury list was pretty much bare. You know what I mean? So I think it's just all around, coaching staff to support staff, cohesion there, and then the players on the field doing their jobs, believing in each other. That's just like all around team mentality right there.
I loved your point on Ozzy Trapillo, because what I think people comment on Ozzy Trapillo is, look who he's been going up against. He went up against Micah Parsons. He went up against Watt. He went up against Myles Garrett. He went up against Max Crosby. We're talking about 4 of the best pass rushers in the NFL right now, in the case of 1 or 2 of them, maybe in the last 10 years, best pass rusher. And he is not just done okay, I think he's excelled, and he's not, you haven't heard his name called every play, which is
exactly.
You look at Kieran Amagaji last year, with all due respect to him, when he was thrown in at the deep end, and he don't blame the kid, it's impacted him since then. But you see the difference in this coaching ticket and this inside offensive line, which has created a running room, which has created a confidence in our run game, which obviously then rolls on to other stuff that we saw against the Browns. He is the perfect example, Ozzy Trapillo, for me, of what this coaching ticket and this whole culture within this organization, good, better, best, whatever you want to call it, has elevated us to this point where I'm now going to play the Green Bay game, and I'm going, you know what? I said this on the last part. I think we're about a football team. I think, do not get me wrong, Green Bay is a really, really good team. And I think I've changed my opinion on Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is a very dangerous quarterback. I think Josh Jacobs, if he plays, is a sensational running back. And I think they have weapons in the likes of Watson and other different things that I wouldn't have given the credit for at the start of the year. They've got a dickhead coach, but he's a really, 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 really good coach. They've got a really good system, and they consistently find ways to win. Very annoyingly, but they do have that. Yet and all, having said all that, with all the potential injuries that are coming and all this other stuff, I still think we're a better football team. So Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to this week of, do we see the Chicago Bears from the second half of that Green Bay game, or do we see the Chicago Bears in the first half of the Green Bay game? What's your expectation going into this game? What's the expectation you have about how successful we can be against them?
I really feel like from the last drive of the first half against Green Bay up through the final horn, the final whistle of that game on Sunday, the Bears have been playing the best ball they've been playing all year. And I think they figured some things out in that Green Bay game. I think they figured a lot of things out. And one of those things is that against Dennis Allen, when Love either has zero time to throw or has zero options to throw to, he can't improvise. He can't make plays on his own, right? We saw that when he was under duress, he got happy feet. He was unable to find the open man. He effectively just dumped the ball or made a bad decision with the football, right? I think that what they figured out in that first Green Bay game was how to disrupt the offensive flow, and that's by making Jordan Love either uncomfortable or not have enough time to just sit back there and pick you apart, because he has that capability. Just go ahead and be honest about that. He has the capability to do that, but it's not really what it's not what we saw the second half, I think, of the entirety of that game that gave Green Bay the chance to win. What really gave Green Bay the chance to win that game was a certain lack of physicality at times, an inability to tackle at times. Jalen Johnson unable to bring down Josh Jacobs on a down and short that set them up for what eventually became the quote unquote game winning touchdown. There needs to be a different level of physical disposition in this game. The same type of level of physical disposition that took place in Cleveland last week. And I think which could have potentially chalked that up to was the realization that, hey, we weren't physical enough when it mattered. And so you could have potentially seen a pissed off football team last week. But then also that was bear weather as well. We talk about all the time, bear weather. It was cold. The wind was blowing. You could barely feel your fingertips if you weren't prepared. Bears just went out there and just physically dominated and manhandled them in all three phases of that game. It was awesome to watch. And so what you hope and what you think you're going to see that game, especially from a defensive standpoint, is a heightened level of physicality. And really, I think Dennis Allen, if he could do a good job of scheming up some pass rushes, and in the secondary, the back half doing their job, I think you're going to see a really good defensive performance. Offensively, if you look at what Caleb has done from that final drive of the first half against Green Bay the first time through to the end of the fourth quarter last week, that's the best 6 quarters of football he's put together his entire career so far. I mean, that was just 6 quarters of put the team on his back football, which was impressive to see. You almost saw him. I mean, it's holiday time. We like to talk about the holiday stuff sometimes. The Grinch, the hard growing 3 sizes that day type of situation. That's you kind of saw Caleb grow as a quarterback 3 sizes, over the course of the past 6 quarters, I think. To really kind of put points on the board towards the end of the first half against Green Bay, put the team on his back, push the ball down the field, made 2 unbelievably ridiculous throws. One to Cole Kmet and then a touchdown to Olamide Zaccheaus, where he effectively threw a human. And then the clutch throw to Duvernay, downfield in the fourth quarter to put him in position to win that game. Hate the play calling, the final series of downs, but man, he put them in position to win, and he had an unbelievable game on Sunday. Let's just say that from like top to bottom, an unbelievable game on Sunday. He's playing very good ball right now. So run the ball, give Caleb the opportunity to make plays. Offensive line, defensive line, the trenches, be physically dominant. I think that's really all we need to do.
I think from my perspective, and I'll let you go now in 2 seconds. Well, from my perspective, what I'm really excited about is, and I had Greg on just before that, and Greg was talking about the fact that he wants Soldier Field to be electric. He wants Soldier Field to be aggressive and do what Lambeau is like for Green Bay and Chicago. My only worry on that is that if we don't start fast and Green Bay get out to a lead, or we 3-and-out, or that atmosphere can change pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. Bears win the toss. Usually that results that you divert and you take the kickoff in the second half. I would be inclined in this game to take the kickoff because I want to get out to a fast start. What would you do if you won the toss and had a call?
I'm not against it. Considering how slow of a start they got off to last time against Green Bay. I want to go ahead and set the tone. I love the idea of that. Go ahead and set the tone, put points on the board right away, straight away, get it off to a fast start, get off to an early lead, and then let the defense cook. I love that idea. That's exactly where I'd be if I was Ben Johnson. Take the ball, shove it down their throat. FU football all the way, baby. All the way.
So before we go, I'm going to get you to do 2 things. I want to get a score from you, and I want to get, because I asked this question before, a bold prediction. So something mad. So what do I mean by that? Alex Shapiro, when he came on, he said that he thinks Darnell Wright's going to take a catching touchdown, reception touchdown, right? That's his call, right? And I've told him that I'll get to Chicago and I'll buy him beers all night if that happens, right? Greg didn't give me one. So I'm going back to you. Give me the scoreline and give me a bold prediction.
All right, score 27-23 Bears. Bold prediction. My bold prediction last week was the defense, the front 7 stepping up, the physicality, making the offensive flow extremely disruptive. I predicted as many as 5 sacks, and that's what we got. So you know what? Let's lean on the defensive front again. Let's see that front 7 just raise some hell, get after Jordan Love, disrupt the entire flow of what they're trying to do. I feel like they're still going to be able to move the ball a little bit, but it's not going to be like last time. We could be talking about garbage time, points in this one. I want to see the defensive front just absolutely get after it. Like I said, FU football all the way this one.
I can't wait. I'll be up at 1 o'clock in the morning with my beer in hand, my little doggy behind me. Life will be great. Neil, where can people get hold of you and watch you and listen to you and interact with you?
Right there, baby. Follow the handle at Niel Stopczynski. My entire last name. I know it looks like the alphabet, but it's actually pretty easy to pronounce. Barfly Tailgate Show on Sunday mornings. This actually this week is going to be a little bit different of a schedule. We're going Saturday morning because we got a Saturday game. So that's through Ballroom Network. Follow and subscribe to that. Irish Bears Network on that when we have that thing up and rolling. So there's multiple places you can find me. Interact with me right here. Follow. And we'll be watching the game together on Saturday night, hopefully bearing down and pulling out a win, man.
We'll get you back on when we got our Super Bowl week and the Bears are playing. I don't give a rat's ass who we're playing. When we got that, I get you back on. So, Neil, as always, you answer the call. So I massively appreciate your time, brother.
You got it, brother.
Stay safe.
Take care of yourself. Bear down.
Bear down, brother. 3 down. 1 to go. I'm still here. I'm still surviving. I've got my beer down there. I've got my vape in my hand. My little doggy has ran a mile because he's had enough of listening to me. But, and I'm going to say this, have we left the best to last? I think we have. That's no disrespect to the other 3, because I've got this guy who, when I came to Chicago, came all the way out driving for an hour to come and meet me and brought me my first ever deep pan pizza. So I had to get him back on a Packers week, and I had to get talking to him because I haven't talked to him in a while. Brendan Sugrue, how are you doing, my man?
My friend, it's good to talk to you again. It's been too long. I was thinking about that recently. It was already 3 years ago, which is crazy. But yeah, we met out in Evanston at a Lou Malnati's on a Monday night football game. Watched the Chiefs. I remember this. Watched the Chiefs just kick the crap out of the Raiders. Enjoyed some classic Lou Malnati's. Caught up. That was a great night. And yeah, it's just great to talk to you again now that the Bears are actually good. We haven't done this ever together.
That game, no one remembered this, but that game was the Washington game. And I remember we organized tickets with your good friend Ryan Dangle and a few of the other guys from your crew back in the day. And we were watching it at the very top level of the stand behind the goal where Mooney dropped the pass. It was baltically cold. It was beyond cold. And I remember just having a immense night because I was at a game in Soldier Field. But that whole week I was in Chicago. I've already said to my girlfriend, my birthday in a year and a half, I'm telling you now where you're sending me. And you know what she said? And it's the reason why I love her. She turned around and goes, I'll send you there on your own. That's the best thing. I was like, bye, I'm gone. Yes, the Bears seem to be good, don't they?
It's wild. It's been such a fun season. It's great to just be in the holiday spirit and not have to just sort of put the football season aside. Like you're sick of watching it. They're in the background now because the games don't matter. No, these are the games that have mattered the most for the first time in 5-7 years or so. And we got a big one with the Packers. Like it's so fun to look at the different playoff scenarios, the predictors, see what could happen. I'm over the moon that we finally get a season like this to cover. That's not just trying to tank for better draft picks or anything. This is what it's all about. This is what it's supposed to be. And it's about time that we've gotten here.
Yeah, I think that's the funny part, that I'm not looking up PFF, NFL, Pro Draft, who am I going to pick in the top 7. I had a go of it last week just for a bit of fun for myself, and it took around 20 seconds to get to my team because we were like 25th to 26th. I was like, this is so unusual. I asked this to the other guys that were on earlier on, Greg, Alex, and Neil. And what has stood out the most to me is the development of some of our players who were not known, who were not spoken about. We're discarded in some scenarios, whether it's Nashawn Wright, whether it's DeMarco Jackson, whether it's DeAndre Swift by the fan base, Tyreek Stevenson is another one. You could keep going. The list goes on. Theo Benedette, the list goes on. And that, for me, stands out the most change in this football team. And that's the one that stands out the most. What is the piece of the puzzle that's been put together for you and that stand out different about this football team?
I think it's just belief in one another, belief that they can actually go down and beat some of these teams and come away with a victory for once. We saw that earlier in the year. I think the Raiders game was truly that first moment where this wasn't the same old Bears and there was no just concern or head hanging low on the sideline when they were down to the Raiders. And Josh Blackwell does what he does, gets a great blocked field goal. And from there, it was like, oh, the Bears would always lose these games. And now they can win them. And that just having that strong mentality from beginning to end, especially in the fourth quarter, that they can step on teams' throats when they need to. They can come back when they need to. I think instilling that belief, it starts at the top with Ben Johnson and having a strong head coach who will coach you hard, but also instill that belief and that confidence in people. You get through those tough moments in the summer when, remember how many times we heard that he was stopping practice and not necessarily throwing guys out, but like moving them to the sideline saying, this isn't good enough. There was a lot of tough love there. And that's what you get to this point now where you have that strong belief. You went through the hard times to make sure that you can all pull on the same end of the rope. So, but to your point, and like, that's also where the next man mentality comes up. There's no, oh, woe is me that our star players out. We got no linebackers. Ben Johnson talked about that before. Like, how are we going to win without these linebackers? Boom, the next man up mentality. And that is part of that culture and that locker room belief. And it's just all coaching, but it's also the players buying in and allowing themselves to be coached hard.
This football team has got a lot of layers to it. So we've got a run game that is the stuff of dreams from what we've looked at. We get inside offensive line. We spent a lot of money on players who have developed. We're seeing rookies, whether it's Ozzie Trapillo, whether it's Luther Burden, whether it's Kyle Manongai, who is, okay, you'll get this. Not many other people that haven't watched me from back in the day will get this. Kyle Manongai was what I dreamed Daz Newsome would be way back in the day. All right, this was the dream scenario back in the day. But Kyle Manongai is another example. There's all these elements that we've got, this layered football team. And then you've got a defense who is taking the ball away at will from every opposition. We're seeing experienced players starting to step up. Grady Jarrett started to improve in the last two weeks. Montez Sweat has had a season that people have seen that growth, even though he's got nobody else on the other side. This is the season that we're seeing all these movements on it. And for me, the excitement part of this is that this isn't just this season. This isn't Matt Nagy year one. This is something that is building. But yet on, there's the Bears PTSD in the back of my head. We're heading to play Green Bay this week. And yet and all, I feel right now, I think we're a better football team. Tell me I'm mental. Tell me I'm nuts. Or do you also agree?
I also kind of agree. And I feel the same way. I'm kind of trying to catch myself because I was very confident going into Green Bay. I was doing some pregame shows. I was writing things. I was looking at the way, and I'm like, I think this Bears team flying high, they can go into Green Bay and win. And then as the days started to get closer, the hours, the injury reports got worse and worse, better and better for the Packers. And I started to feel just a little bit less confident. But I am very confident going into this Saturday for a couple of reasons. This past week, this was that chance for the Bears to start to limp and start to teeter a little bit with a trap game from what we saw in the Browns. They could have just said, well, we finally lost for the first time in 5+ weeks. They could have overlooked this game. They could have started out sloppy and let a Browns team that, has some players on each side of the ball get at them. But they took care of business very easily, and you could hear it in their voices. Like they were like, okay, this was great. We're happy we got the win, but it's all about next week. It's all about getting that bitter taste out of our mouth. And for the Packers coming in, losing players like they lost with Micah Parsons, Evan Williams being hurt, Zach Tom. I mean, Micah Parsons especially, it is hard for teams to come back from that morally. And I know you can do the next man up thing, but that was the guy. That was the instance where the Packers front office said, we are going to go for broke and become a Super Bowl contender here. And when that gets taken away from you on a short week with all the other injuries, you could hear Matt LaFleur talking about it in his press conference. He sounded like he had to put an animal down. I think that's hard for teams to come back from. So I truly wonder how prepared and how willing they are going to be coming into a very hostile Soldier Field crowd. I heard Greg earlier talk about fans need to be just with it and loud and obnoxious the whole time. And he's 100% right. So I just feel like the Bears are that team. They're riding high. They're coming to Chicago now. This is the time to get the Packers. I'm very excited, and maybe I shouldn't feel as confident as I do, like you do, but can't help it.
I said it earlier on the show. I've never been this confident heading into Green Bay. I've always said, you know what, let's give it close. We'll give them a game. That's what I want. I want it to be make them work for it, all that kind of stuff. But I look around our team. I look on our sideline. I look on our players. I look at the next stuff, and I look. If we start, and that's why I said in the last segment, I'd love to take the kickoff because I want to go and run the ball down the throat, get a 6-7 minute drive, really dominate 16, 17 plays. And you saw that in the fourth quarter in Lambeau, where we tired them out. We absolutely tired them out, and they were blowing out their ass. And for me, we let that one slip. But as Greg pointed out, had we not done that in the first, had we not performed like we did in, let's say, second part of the first quarter and then the whole of the second quarter,
right?
We would have won that game. And that's with Micah Parsons, and that's with some of the other players that they were playing. Josh Jacobs is I'm going to read it out. They did not participate this week or this today. Josh Jacobs didn't participate again, and they had Jaden Reed didn't participate. That's a personal matter. Zach Tom didn't participate again. They had Josh White, a tight end. They had Evan Williams didn't participate again. Now, I know the Bears, and they've scared me by putting DeAndre Swift on the list as limited, because that scares the bejesus out of me. But we're playing them, as you said, at the right time. And I just think even if those guys suddenly come back, they've flown all the way out from LA, they're going back to Chicago, they're missing their superstar player, who, I'll say it again, unfortunately is injured, and I would have preferred if he played. This is all standing right for us to go and run the ball down their throat and absolutely put a statement in the ground.
I put out the stat over the weekend that teams that have played in Denver are 1-5 in their following games. I think Denver is a tough place to play. They're a tough opponent, and the Bears are a tough opponent as well. It just looked like you know, when you get beaten down over and over like that in these tough physical games, especially the travel on a short week, I think that is somewhat of a factor. You saw it with the Rams going to from the West Coast to the East Coast, playing the Panthers in the early window. Stuff like that happens. And I'm totally with you when it comes to starting out fast. The Bears haven't done that over the last few games, and it pisses me off because Ben Johnson early in the season was so good at scripting game plays, and it just feels like they kind of sputter for that first drive and then get underway with something that's sustainable that can turn into points. How great would it be if the Bears get the ball, they drive all the way down the field, they start out with 7 points, and here come the Packers. They're beaten down, they're bruised, and they're already down 7-0 with a just vicious crowd screaming every single time they take the field. I just think that would be the best way to start. And I really hope that, I'm sure with knowing Rome Odunze is not going to play, that's I'd say a fairly good guess. Luther Burden, I would probably guess, is not going to play with his ankle. So at least you know going into it, this is going to be more of a tight end game. This is going to be more of a featured run game. You're going to have more 12, 13 personnel. At least I think that you can devise a game plan where instead last week with Rome Odunze, you probably had more of a game plan to get him involved and use more, 3-4 wide receiver sets. And you couldn't do that at the very last minute. So I think starting out fast and really giving it to them early is the way to go.
Yeah, I think it's vitally important that Cole Kmet is fit. I agree with you. I don't think Rome Odunze plays. I don't think Luther Burden plays. And based on the last 2 weeks with what happened with Rome, what happened with Kyler the week before, I think if I'm them, I take that risk. I don't want to take that risk on 2 players. Luther Burden, by the way, different level, that player. So but good. I think that will be he's so good. He's going to be the best wide receiver we've had. I genuinely believe that. He's got so much talent, that kid. So much talent. For me, what I want to see this week is I want to see the players with this same attitude, but also do what the Packers usually do to us, which isn't just beat us, isn't just bully us, absolutely rub the noses in the dirt. I remember you mentioned week 2 and the Lions, and it's why I'm really, really hoping they've got something to play for in the last week of the season, because I want to knock them out of the division, because they were the way they celebrated, the way they enjoyed it, which I get, by the way, which is the way they really, really made a point. And I want Bears to be the team to start doing that. And this team has that feeling towards it. They definitely have it in their head coach. They definitely have it in their whole offensive line, the way it's been set up. I asked this question to everybody else at the start of the year, or at the start of each segment. From your perspective going into this, what's the surprising thing from the start of the season to now? What's the thing that surprised you the most about this Chicago Bears this year?
Like player, or like I can go anywhere with it?
Player or attitude or coaching staff or results? What is it that stood out as being the most surprising thing that you didn't expect at the start of the year?
Well, I guess I'll classify the start of the year as like week 2, because I remember in week 2 the fact that the Bears, they didn't have Kyler Gordon. Jalen Johnson just got hurt. He was out for the year essentially, back then. And you're looking at a secondary with Nishan Wright, Nick McLeod, Tyreek Stevenson, and the Bears are down 0-2. And you're thinking, how in the world is this defense going to not allow 50 points a game, 40 points a game, something like that? The work that Al Harris did, which I was a big fan when he signed on to be the defensive backs coach. I was thrilled. I knew the work that he was doing with the Dallas Cowboys cornerbacks and safeties, and I thought this is going to be a good hire. I could not have expected what Nishan Wright would have done, how well this unit would have gelled, even with the lack of overall pass rush and the injuries just all over the place. Just the amount of improvement from Nishan Wright, the fact that Nick McLeod, who has been as bad as he is, they can still utilize him in some sort of way. The stability at safety with Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker. Who would have thought those two, well, maybe Byard, but not Brisker, who thought that he was going to be in the lineup for all the games this season. CJ Gardner-Johnson coming in, being a revelation. I thought he would be like 2 games and done and off the team with his attitude. So the fact that this secondary specifically has gelled so well despite all of the injuries, and I know it hasn't been perfect, but I cannot say enough good things about all of those players stepping up, and especially Dennis Allen and Al Harris for the work that they've done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. CJ Gardner-Johnson was someone I was with you. I was like, this guy's going to be there a week and a half, and he's going to be gone. And he has been an absolute rep, so much so that I'm like, I need to get him a contract. I think he's the kind of player that you hate when he's on the other team, and you hate him. But when he's on your team, you absolutely love him. And I think that says it all. Right, I won't keep you much longer. Same question I asked everybody else. I want a score prediction and I want a bowl prediction. So pick whichever one you want to start with.
All right, well, I believe, again, I'm confident in the Bears going into this game. I think it's going to be something around 27-21 Bears over Packers. Again, short week, road game for the Packers, beaten up. They're still trying to figure out what their identity is now. I just think, the Bears have the upper hand. I'm very interested to see just the coaching chess match too. I mean, something we didn't talk about in the first matchup for that first half, Jeff Hafley was in his bag against Ben Johnson. It's like he knew what was coming time in and time again. And then Ben Johnson's like, okay, well, I'm going to show you something different and just build off of some of the different concepts. And sure enough, the Bears got the upper hand. What does that look like this weekend? The Broncos did very well against that defense, and Bo Nix had one of his better games of the season. Let's see if Caleb can do the same thing. So either way, I think this is going to be a Bears victory. They get to 11 wins. And bold predictions. I do bold predictions every week for Bears Wire. I usually don't map them out until Thursday or Friday. But by the way, I hit 2 of them this past week. Almost got 3. I had the Bears getting at least 5 sacks and DJ Moore getting a touchdown. So that was solid. But I'm going to predict something that hasn't happened since week 1. And maybe this is wishful thinking, but I think it's about time the Bears get a defensive touchdown. There were opportunities last week with those 3 takeaways against the Browns, but we haven't seen one since Nashawn Wright's pick 6 back in week 1. I feel like under the lights, in front of that crowd, we're going to get something. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's a pick 6. I don't know if it's a fumble recovery, what have you. But I think the Bears defense just continues their strong takeaway play, and this time they get in the end zone.
Imagine Soldier Field if it's a pick 6. I think the place might actually self-combust. I think it actually might self-combust. It will just be insane. Brendan, before I let you go and go and get ready to enjoy what is an insane game this weekend, where can people find you? Where people can listen to you or read you? Where's the best place to go and find everything about Brendan Sugrue?
Oh, you can follow me on Twitter or X at Brendan Sugrue. That's Sugrue. Make sure you check out my work at bearswire.com. I also do some guest spots on Bears on Tap every Tuesday with Quentin Crisco. And then I'm on Blue Sky as well sometimes. So if you want to follow me there, I'll do my best to post there. But and it's so good talking to you, man. Really appreciate you having me on. And hopefully we get to do it soon and get to do it after some Bears wins. This is great.
Well, as I've said to every guest so far, Super Bowl week, I'm going to get you on the show. I don't care who we're playing, but we'll be getting ready for that. So, Brendan, as always, enjoy the game this weekend. And thank you so much for jumping on. Absolutely. You too. Appreciate you, brother. So that's it. That's my Packers week done. 4 amazing guests. Make sure if you didn't catch them all, go back and listen to them all. We had... God, it was such a long time ago. We had Alex Shapiro, we had Greg Gabriel, Neil, we had Brendan, with all these guests. And the best part is they all predicted a Bears victory. And that's what I'm going to do as well. I just get this feeling that this is going to be the week that it turns. And I think this week, as I said to the guests before, I think we get the ball at the start of the game. We run the ball down their throat. I think in a weird way, maybe not having Luther, maybe not having Rome might actually work in our favor, because then suddenly we are going to run it more. And as my good mate who's on the chat as well, Berlissimo, has said regularly, sometimes it's impossible to stop, even though you know it's coming. And that's the best thing about this football team right now. We've got so many weapons in so many different places. Next men mentality are stepping up. Players are coming back. Tremaine Edmonds might come back on a limited snap count. We don't know what's coming. But Saturday night is going to be epic. I'll be watching it along with everybody else. I'll be up at whatever 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it is. Make sure you all jump across. Make sure you like the show. Tell people about us. Give us a like, a 5-star review, follow the Twitter account, and make sure you get involved because we do this for you in Bear Down Abroad. Chip, he's gone to bed. Tony, I don't know where Tony. I know Tony's not around. He'll be back next week, and hopefully we're talking about 11-win Chicago Bears. Until then, bear down.